So, let me ask anybody in the chat here, is there anyone here who identifies as asexual? I'm sure that there are people here listening to this now that do, and I will tell you, welcome. So, my stage name is James as James. That comes from my work and my panels in the anime community, wherein I often cosplay as the Team Rocket villain James from Pokemon, and my legal name is James. But that's another story. Without further ado, I shall begin. Now, a little bit about myself. I identify as asexual and aromantic, and I have openly identified as such ever since I was a sophomore in high school. However, I kind of had inklings that I was asexual and aromantic ever since I was
a blood and sacred.
ever since I was around 11 or 12 years old, and other guys my age were starting to have feelings towards girls that I wasn't experiencing. But at the same time, when I was in the 5th grade at the age of 11, my best friend was a girl, and we enjoyed our friendship. It was like Sunburst and Starlight, or Twilight Sparkle and her BBBFF. And it got confusing because we just enjoyed the magic of our friendship. But as a kid, I was often unsure, can she be my friend? Are we just friends? Are we dating? And but at the same time, I still remember just how happy I was just being friends with her. And at the same time, I am also autistic, and a lot of kids in my class in the 4th and 5th grade were pretty nasty to me because of my autism. And I at the same time I didn't care that she was female. I just was just happy I had a friend. And I think about how in adulthood, when I first learned about the My Little Pony TV show and the concept of the magic of friendship that show offered, I said to myself, wow, this show is speaking to me. It's speaking to me about this magic of friendship I had with that girl in the 5th grade, the magic of friendship that I enjoy. And although I still and always will identify as asexual and aromantic, there's still magic in having friends. And I value my friends. My friends are the world to me. And at the same time, although My Little Pony French was Magic, again, it's a kid show that, of course, was created for children. And of course, as we now know, the show has a really nice adult fan base. I really think it's great that this show has created a fandom of all ages, because in the end, when you identify as asexual and aromantic, you often feel frustration that you live in a world that just so often tends to associate so many things as having a sexual motivation or as being sexual, and you often want to say to people, hey, There is a lot more to life than just constantly thinking about things that are sexual. Many adults like My Little Pony. But you know what? I'll bet many of those fans, whether they're bronies or Pegasisters, many of the reasons why they like the show have nothing to do with their sexual orientation. And shout out to all the bronies and Pegasisters out there who just love My Little Pony because it's a cool show about amazing ponies and the magic of friendship. It has nothing to do with anything sexual. And as someone who identifies as aromantic and asexual, I just think it's cool that there's a whole fandom out there that's asserting with pride that you can love something for what it is, for the beautiful show that My Little Pony is. Just as my friend and I in the 5th grade, we had a pure friendship, just like, as I said earlier, Starlight and Sunburst. And Twilight Sparkle and her big brother. And there is magic in friendship, whether you can call it warm fuzziness or whatever. And as an asexual and an aromantic person, a big part of my life is helping people understand that magic of friendship and the magic that friendship can be, that doesn't have to be ruined or destroyed by people's associations of things being sexual. Now, at the same time, one other reason why My Little Pony can be such a great show for people who identify as asexual is because it is a kid show. Because, kids are supposed to live in that world of latency, that world of asexuality, because they're kids. We don't put sexual things in a kid show. Sexuality is what you put in R-rated movies, in teen comedies, in adult videos, basically in, pornography. But kid shows can be pure. They can be filled with humor that, yes, will be understood by adults, but it can be intelligent humor, not disgusting humor. The magic of friendship in My Little Pony is the magic of friendship that I value as an aromantic and asexual person. The friendship that my friends and I enjoy. And My Little Pony is a show where you can just look at the different ponies, respect them as unique ponies, and look at a world beyond things that are necessarily sexual, even the romantic love in My Little Pony. Whether it's, Spike being in love or the love between Cranky and Matilda, it's still pure romantic love. And being asexual and teaching awareness of the magic of friendship doesn't mean you're against romantic love. I mean, Cranky and Matilda had a right to be a couple. But then so did Sunburst and Starlight. They had a right to be friends too. And speaking up for non-romantic friendship just means you believe that non-romantic friends should have the same rights and equality that romantic couples already take for granted. So now, I am going to continue by sharing various references in My Little Pony that really can relate to asexuality. And what I love so much about My Little Pony is that My Little Pony does beautifully what many other works of fiction do. They use a fictional universe to teach awareness of issues that people don't always understand in the real world, but they can understand within the context of this fictional universe or any fictional universe. Because when an issue is addressed to you in a fictional universe, you're outside of that universe. It's a lot easier for a person to understand an issue in a fictional universe than it is sometimes to understand in the actual world. But before I begin, I'm going to take out my recorder, an instrument I have played for many years, and entertain everybody with the My Little Pony theme song. Now I see Princess Luna here on the caramel malt page saying Spike was fine, but Rarity took advantage of it constantly. And yes, that happened. But see, the purpose of this session, though, isn't to criticize Spike and Rarity. Rather, it's to point out that, people understand more those romantic dynamics. But what they don't always understand is non-romantic friendship. And although I've mentioned this reference briefly before, I'm now going to go more into detail. The separation that occurred between Sunburst and Starlight is it's such an allegory to a struggle that many people who identify as aromantic and asexual go through. Because although in the show, technically, the separation is due to Sunburst getting his cutie mark, the fact that Sunburst and Starlight do have gender differences has led me to conclude that in many ways, that forced separation is really an allegory to the forced separation that often occurs among friends of different genders in the real world. But when you watch that forced separation, even though you've been first introduced to Starlight as a antagonist, a villain in the story. Who didn't feel bad for Sunburst and Starlight when they were separated in childhood? And in the context of the fictional universe where the separation was officially caused by cutie marks, how couldn't you feel sorry for Sunburst and Starlight? And who didn't feel happy when they reunited? Well, I can tell you, in the real world, as a person who identifies as asexual, I've been separated from friends who are female because of gender differences, or because some boyfriend got in the way, that couldn't understand our relation was anything but potentially being sexual. And seeing that scene with the separation between Sunburst and Starlight, it hits so much at home. So the separations I've sometimes had with female friends because of societal misunderstandings due to those misunderstandings and those associations of our relationships having to involve a sexual element. Another beautiful reference in My Little Pony, in many ways, just what the terminology is, the friendship between Twilight Sparkle and her big brother, Shining Armor. Now, obviously, they are biological siblings, and that relationship is understood. But the terminology, BBBFF, I've had female friends and I call each other BFF. Just because, why is it that a BFF has to be of the same gender? And that's probably the one thing I love so much about My Little Pony. It is a show that doesn't just look at the friendships between the female ponies. It looks at the magic of friendship. Not friendship between two Earth ponies, not friendship between two Pegasus ponies. Just friendship. Princess Luna, I'm glad to see that you are sharing what you said. I completely relate to that. Many of my female friends who call me their BFF, yes, we had many discussions together that normally a female wouldn't share with a male. Thank you for sharing that, Princess Luna. The My Little Pony fandom, at the same time, has been such an accepting place for people who identify as asexual. As I mentioned earlier, the mere fact that a group of adults have asserted their right to be fans of a kid show in many ways a truly, for the most part, non-sexual reasons in of itself, has created an atmosphere where people who identify as aromantic and asexual can thrive. But what I love about the fandom is that because it is a kid show, it is a fandom of people of all ages. A fandom with bronies, with Pegasisters, with kids who love the show, of amazing people. And it's a fandom where so many of those people are there because they've been judged. They don't want to judge. When I first went to a My Little Pony convention, which was Ponyville Ciderfest, it was so nice to just talk to other My Little Pony fans. To meet other fans, whether they were kids with their families, other adults, into My Little Pony. Whether it was whole families or other adults, it was so nice to just be able to talk to people and not have to worry about people seeing my interest in My Little Pony as some crazy sexual thing. Because it is an amazing show. It brings out the best in so many people. It's created an amazing fandom. I shall now do another interlude with another My Little Pony song on my recorder. That song really hit home to me too. And I'm really glad that the other ponies respected Twilight Sparkle's friendship with her big brother. I mean, yes, Shining Armor might have actually been her brother, but how many times do we call our non-romantic friends like our brothers and our sisters? Another really great reference to asexuality in the My Little Pony fandom is that classic episode which gave us the Smile song, when Pinkie Pie just annoys Cranky to a T. It doesn't realize just how much Cranky is just upset with Pinkie. It just wants Pinkie to leave him alone. Now, obviously, that's just Pinkie Pie being Pinkie Pie. But there's a reference to asexuality with that scene that not everyone might realize. And the fact is that if you know Pinkie Pie, you know that Pinkie Pie is like that. She's outgoing. She wants to be friends with everybody. She calls everybody her friend. But Pinkie Pie's motivations and intentions are not in any way sexual. Unless you have no idea what the show's about, there's no way you're going to be thinking when you see Pinkie Pie annoy Cranky as much as she does. No way you're going to think that Pinkie Pie is doing that to have any sexual motivations. That's not Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie just wants to be friends with everybody. And sometimes she just annoys the crap out of other ponies in the process. But it is not motivated by anything sexual. And the reference in that scene is that you can bother people, you can annoy people, you can upset other ponies. But that's just about being a unique person. It has nothing to do with your gender or sexual identity. Pinkie Pie annoyed Cranky because that's just what Pinkie Pie does, not because Pinkie Pie had any feelings toward Cranky. And no one who knows the show should have ever associated Pinkie Pie's behavior with any sexual motivation. And I can tell you, as a person with autism who works in autism advocacy, there are many times when I have intervened at events I have worked with where someone behaved in a way and people thought there was a sexual motivation, but there wasn't. And one of the beautiful things about My Little Pony is that there are so many scenes in that show that, because it's a kid's show, we learn how to retrain our minds to see the scenes in the show for what they are: ponies being themselves without any sexual strings attached. Now, that doesn't mean that, obviously, there are not romantic couples in the show. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there are also many references to the magic of the pure friendship that so many people who identify as asexual and aromantic aspire to. At the same time, so many values that so many nerd fandoms are now aspiring to speak so much to the asexual, aromantic mindset. And these values don't just apply to My Little Pony fandom, they apply to the anime fandom, the comic book fandom. And there is one motto that is so important to these fandoms. It's so important to our community because of what it means. Cosplay is not consent. And of course, that was created because, hey, we all want to feel safe when we're cosplaying. And that applies to any cosplayer. I want to feel safe cosplaying. I want to feel safe cosplaying as James from Team Rocket, just as a person who identifies as female wants to be safe cosplaying as Wonder Woman or Pinkie Pie or whatever they're cosplaying. And that reality that hey, cosplay doesn't mean I'm consenting to anything that you might want sexually. It just means that I want to cosplay as this character. And as someone who identifies as asexual, when I first heard about cosplay as contest, I said, thank you. As an asexual, this is the world I live in. I don't want people to see a costume as something other than a costume. Thank you for validating what I, in my heart and soul, already see because of my identity. Because as we know, looking at cosplays for the beautiful costumes that they can be is the way things should be. A Pinkie Pie costume should be a costume, not some ticket to some crazy fantasy that has nothing to do with Pinkie Pie or the TV show. Now, I will say, while Gas08, you are right. The issues with sound with my recorder is caused by the computer. I did not cover the mic when I played. And Princess Luna, I can tell you right now, I was one of the people involved at the Midwest Fur Fest Asexuality panel one year. Unfortunately, not in the year you mentioned due to illness. What is so nice about the My Little Pony TV show as well, and its relation to asexuality, is that although this is not unique to kid shows, many kid shows have characters that have distinct personalities. But the distinct personalities in My Little Pony are pure. Pinkie Pie is purely a hyperactive, party-loving pony. Fluttershy is a pure shy pony. Applejack is a pure, hardworking pony. They have pure, distinct personalities. they form a group of friends. An amazing group of friends. And Twilight Sparkle's friendship lessons that she sends to Princess Celestia, those same values, those are the values shared by so many people who identify as asexual. The show may present them as the friendship lessons for children, for the target audience. And as we know from one of the show's original creators, Lauren Faust, the distinct personalities were created to teach young girls that there are different ways where it's okay, different ways you can be female, and it's okay to be female in those different ways. The friendship lessons in My Little Pony shouldn't just be for kids. They should be for everyone. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we all followed those friendship lessons? Those lessons that maintain pure friendship. Those lessons shouldn't just be for children. They should be for everyone. Everybody. Every pony. And my hope is that within the context of the fictional universe of My Little Pony, that anyone watching the show can look at those lessons and realize that anyone can benefit from the friendship lessons in My Little Pony. My hope is that even though the show has come to an end, the last episode of the last season has completed. Let the fandom live on. Let the fandom prosper. Let it be a safe place for those who identify as ace and aromantic or romantic asexuals who want to come to make friends, to enjoy that magic of friendship with anyone in the fandom. And yes, Real Gas 08, like you, I see Twilight as ace as well. And yes, Twilight may have had a crush on Flash, but there are those who are romantic aces, those who feel romantic love, even if it is asexual. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why many asexuals prefer to identify and call themselves ace, because ace is really kind of a friendlier term than asexual, which often broadcasts the word sexual, which is the opposite of who you're trying to show yourself as. But you know what? It is precisely Twilight's ace tendencies that really make her such a good student to Princess Celestia. Because when you're ace, you can often see the magic of friendship in that inquisitive way. You don't hate romantic love. You don't hate romantic relationships. In fact, many times when you're ace, you have a lot of friends in relationships and you genuinely want your friends to be happy. A good number of my friends are in romantic relationships. Sometimes they ironically ask me for advice, and I'll tell them, hey, I don't share your feelings, but I'll still give you from a romantic separate perspective how I see your relationship. And it is precisely Twilight's ace tendencies that make her such a good student. She's not coming to the magic of friendship being blinded by any of that interest. She's just learning and studying the magic of friendship from that non-sexual neutral perspective. Now, of course, I can assume that the show created Twilight to emulate, like a child developing knowledge of friendship. Because, all of us at one time, whether it was when we were infants or toddlers, many of us are born naturally ace. And then whatever our identity comes, we may be born with different identities, but we all openly show those identities at different points in our life. And no, not all aces have no sexual interest. You're very right, May. There is a spectrum of asexuality. Just as there's a spectrum to when we openly display our identities versus the day we are born with whatever identity we are born with. Yes, people are born with different identities, whether it's a different gender identity or sexual identity. But we all display those identities differently. And there is a spectrum of asexuality. There's a spectrum of friendship. But ultimately, part of the magic of friendship is about accepting that spectrum, accepting those differences, and accepting that the true villains in our world are those who cannot accept those differences. Like discord. Discord, in my opinion, is a genuine antagonist in the story because discord is trying to often create that imbalance that often can damage friendships in the show. And yes, May, asexuality is a broad spectrum. You are absolutely right. And I've always admired the efforts that the ponies show to overcome discord's forces. Because those forces are in many ways forces of evil. Now we have a question here regarding voice questions. After my panel is over, you may
Yes, I am.
ask
Yes.
questions Ask questions in the chat room after my panel ends in about 15 minutes. Because in the end, friendships are supposed to make us happy. Romantic relationships are supposed to make us happy too. We're not supposed to be friends with people we don't like. And the My Little Pony TV show is so beautiful in teaching us awareness of respecting those differences. The cutie marks on the ponies represent the diversity in strengths and weaknesses that people have. That people can be friends with people who are different. But the most important moral of My Little Pony is look beyond sexual intention. In many ways, remember the innocence of childhood. Because so many safety rules, so many rules of respect, so many things that children are taught, adults can benefit from too. We all need to protect ourselves from the discords in our lives that want to create disharmony in our social lives. I shall now play another song for everyone. A song that symbolizes not just one of the signature songs from My Little Pony, but a song symbolizing what friendship is supposed to do. I am now going to perform for everybody the Smile song. before my panel comes to a close, I will close with the following. Our fandom in the My Little Pony community should be a safe zone for anyone who identifies as ace, aromantic ace, romantic ace, or whatever they identify on the spectrum. I would like to thank all the adult bronies and Pegasisters who have shown the world that you can love a show for children as an adult for reasons that are genuine and have nothing to do with sexual interest. Let's keep our fandom a safe place for people who enjoy this show for the genuine, beautiful show that it is, not for the people that want to ruin our fandom by creating sexual motivations maliciously with My Little Pony. This is a show about the magic of friendship. It is a show about respect and about tolerance. It is not a show for us to have blindness with sexual interest to get in the way. I would like to also thank anyone who contributed to the writing of this show. The people who created the ponies, the universe of Ponyville, a world where creatures aspire to the values of friendship that those who identify as asexual aspire to, and the fandoms that maintain values like cosplay is not consent, the anti-harassment policies, the norms that we strive to, where we treat people as human beings and other fans, where we tell ourselves at cons, don't assume anything sexual when you're interacting with another person. Let's keep our fandoms, let's keep our community that safe place. And let's enjoy My Little Pony and that amazing show for years to come. Thank you, everyone, for listening to my panel on asexuality in the My Little Pony fandom. I shall now head to the chat room to answer anybody's questions verbally. Thank you, and have a good night.